when you're constantly, exerting your energy and exhausting yourself sexually, you got to realize that there's power in silence. There's power in just sitting next to a woman, not wanting to, not having to touch her, and not even allowing her to always touch you. Boundaries are important. And the more you're able to exist around men and women, the more you're going to learn about yourself. When it comes to women, there's so much you can learn. Remember, a woman is the only way in and out of this universe. So it's important to respect women and to not expect anything from them.
Listen, you're back again. My name's Tor, I'm your host, and today I've got a very, very special guest. He's a special guest because I actually met him in a shop, and he was working in this shop. It's an Alkaline food shop in London. And I walked in there, and I was looking for a particular item, and then I heard someone ask him a question when he was at the counter. And the answer you gave to that question was one of the strongest, most convincing answers I've ever heard anyone give in my whole life. So I had to start speaking to you. And then when I started speaking to you, you told me your whole journey. Now, my man's name is Jan. He has a crazy journey and experience with alkaline foods, with fasting, with celibacy, and all types of stuff. And we're going to learn a bit more about him today. So the first question actually for you, just tell me a bit about your background. What got you into alkaline? What got you into your journey? Just give a little bit about that.
Thank you very much. So, my name is Jan, and the main thing that I changed in my life is what I eat. It allowed me to change the way that I think, and it has also changed the way that I see things. The main reason why I allowed myself to change is because I saw that everyone started eating the same things around me. They started saying the same things around me. A lot of people develop this mindset where they're complaining a lot of the time. So I switched the problem-based thinking to solution-based thinking. I've realized, you know what, I'm not going to cut out everything immediately, but let me see how I feel when I minimize my portions. I'm coming from a background that's South American, so there's a lot of meat. Like every culture, there's something that, you can improve on. I saw similarly that after family motives, family gatherings, a lot of people were tired, lethargic, out of breath. And me, I used to mash out bare rice. I used to eat not just a lot of meat, but a lot of the starch, a lot of potatoes, and that's by itself without even mixing with the meat. But like a lot of children, toddlers, and teenagers, they eat what they're given because you're always hungry, you're always active. But it got to a point where I said, how do I feel when I don't eat? If I feel like I'm hungry, why am I hungry? What am I feeding? And then I found out about fasting, about cleansing, also about retaining your seeds, as they talk about semen retention and celibacy. And then I found out about people like Dr. Sebi and the power of the message that he transferred, because he's just a messenger delivering a message like I am, like we are. And yeah, I said let me give it a go. Let me give myself a chance. And since then, I've just always seen improvements. There's always room for more improvement, but I've just felt more attached, more connected rather to my higher self. And I found always ways to bargain with my lower self, because you can't have just one. And yeah, I am where I am today.
I like that very much. You actually made a very interesting point at the end there about bargaining with your lower self
Definitely.
versus your higher self. Something I struggle with a lot because I was just saying to you before, I just came back from a party holiday.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to live the alkaline lifestyle while partying, and I'm sometimes celibate, sometimes not, you know what I'm saying? So I'm kind of 1 foot in, 1 foot out, which I think is probably a problem for a lot of people. So speak a bit more on that, about the bargaining with between your lower self and higher self, how you manage that.
Excellent. Thank you. The reason why I use the word bargain is to meet yourself halfway. When you're feeling good, you praise yourself, but then when you're feeling bad, you're not as graceful. So I make sure to be kind and honest and transparent with myself. If I'm having a day where I'm not in the best mood, instead of trying to make myself feel better immediately, I ask myself, what is the root? Where is this coming from? I sit with myself. At the moment, I am on a cleanse. I enjoy psychedelics, but I'm even taking a break from those. So now I'm realizing that I used to go to things like cannabis, things like magic mushrooms, to not really think or really find a solution for why I'm feeling certain things. Um, yeah, that's the main thing about also honoring emotions and not just saying I only want to feel good, I don't want to feel bad. And your higher self, your lower self, they both exist, and getting into terms with both is what they call your angels and demons. You know, you can't defeat your demons, you can only live amongst them, above them.
Very nice, very nice. And you touched on psychedelics there as well, which is interesting for me. I've never done them. I've never done any types of drugs, but I've read a lot of stories about psychedelics, and I see the benefits of them. But you explain a bit more detail why you think they're sometimes useful.
Excellent. So the word psychedelic means to reveal the soul. There are many psychedelics, but the ones that I've mainly experienced are magic mushrooms and cannabis. The main reason that I've chose to delve into those is because those two contain chemicals that already exist in your body. You can say that your lungs produce DMT, your pineal gland, your inner eye, it produces DMT. Inside of your brain receptors, the cannabinoid receptors, so the weed and the mushrooms are already within you. However, the psychedelics can come externally. So I mainly, in my past, have aimed, my intention is to use it so it reminds me of what I am. And the moment that I see it consuming me more than I consume it, just like a telephone, just like a social media app, I take a break, I step away. And to be honest, there's years of my life that I've spent very serious, and I feel like it's just allowed me to not take life so seriously. It's allowed me to cry, to laugh, to be grateful, and be very present in life. Yeah.
Good stuff about being present. I think for men today, I'm going to touch on the seed retention stuff in a second because for men, that's a big deal. But another thing about men is being emotional, being vulnerable. We oftentimes feel like it's something that we can't do because if we do it, people will judge us. Friends might not like us, family might judge us, women won't like us. There's all these thoughts that play in our mind which aren't necessarily true.
Exactly.
So when you speak about psychedelics enabling you to open up, how does that look for you? Are you comfortable with expressing your emotions? Do you think it's good, or do you think a man should reserve his emotions and manage them?
Great question. So, what exists if you took everything away from this external reality? What would always exist is the masculine and the feminine of everything. Plants, you know, whatever you want to say, cars, businesses, the way fonts are. Anyway, the reason why I'm mentioning that is because within us too, there is both masculine and feminine. And I sense that a lot of men only see the value in their masculinity. However, when you're able to shift between both, be aware of both, and apply both into this reality, then you realize that you experience life to the fullest. Before I took any psychedelics, I was very much in my masculine, overly in my masculine, like that toxic masculinity was definitely there. But once I, realized psychedelics, experienced psychedelics, I realized, wow, there's this other side to life. I'm allowed to feel with emotional intelligence, of course, but to the people that I feel comfortable being vulnerable around, I found out more about myself by letting myself talk about my problems, not to find solutions externally, because that always comes from within, but mainly to see how I felt and see how I can apply any lesson into this reality. When it comes to being in your feminine, a lot of people, especially men, they don't see the value in it. Similar to the other side, a lot of women, they may not want to be in their masculine. They want to be mainly in their they want to be over feminized. But that is a lot to do with our external reality. That's a lot to do with what we're watching, what we're listening to. And that's why maybe see how you feel if you take a little break from listening to music that you often listen to see if your thoughts change. Because a song could be an echo in your head that goes on for more than a day. And also, when you're in your masculine too much, it's like having lopsided amounts of something. So you can't really have too much of something. Even living a healthy lifestyle and focusing on your well-being, a lot of people stress themselves, they kill themselves trying to be healthy. So it's about accepting where you are and taking small steps towards progress.
Very good point about masculine and feminine. One of the things about masculinity that's emerging right now is this movement towards semen retention and reserving your seed and holding on to your essence. Now you have been on a journey that puts mine to shame. So even though this is something I've spoken about a couple times before on socials, you have a lot more experience with it. So inform people about the journey that you're currently on with celibacy and how that's affected your life.
Thank you. So, to give context, for me, celibacy is when you sustain from anything to do with sexuality, not just within yourself, but externally. So, that can involve porn, that can involve having sexual relations with people, that can even involve having thoughts that are sexual. The reason why I have found many benefits from sustaining from those things is because it's allowed me to see where that's coming from, to see if that's an external source, if it's a song that I heard, if it's something that I watched that over the years became started from a seed and became more like a seedling. A lot of our thoughts aren't ours. So once you take a break from what you listen or what you watch, then you start to realize, wow, I wasn't really feeling to do that in the first place. But eventually you start to realize, do I really want to be watching this thing or listening to this music? If you think about it, something like sharing your sexual energy is a sexual exchange, it's an exchange of energy, it's a transference of energy. Therefore, it's important to honor that and to be very sacred with it. I treat my energy as if it's something very delicate, and I have so much to give that I've only given myself, to a few people. Now, when it comes to celibacy, there's also and semen retention more specifically, there's also a lot of power into it because as a man, if you're always externally, if your output is more than your input, then you're always going to be drained. Your life force energy is going to lack, and that taps in also to your manifestations and your visualizations. A lot of us have small goals because we're very small minded. But the moment you sustain and you see that there's way more to life than being bored, you realize that you can meditate, you can stretch, you can sing, you can dance, you can create content, you can do endless things. Your existence is infinite, and realizing that allows you to also value when you eventually do give in to someone, because I feel that semen retention is misconstrued, is misinterpreted because it only talks about the isolation part. But for me, it's also about learning how to transmute and transmit your energy once you do let go, once you do find someone. Because I don't mean to say that we're here to procreate, but it's definitely a part of the experience. Like I said, there's masculine and feminine of both things, of everything. And even though I've been on my journey, I've been very disciplined, there have been certain occurrences where I have not gone all the way, but I've allowed myself to feel vulnerable. And now that time has passed, I allow myself to self reflect. Remember, you cannot control what people do or think or say, but you have dictatorship over what you respond with. And people may treat you bad, they may treat you good, but what they're going to remember always is how you allow them to feel. That's timeless.
Beautifully answered, by the way. I'm going to assume that a lot of the people that watch my content have tried things like celibacy, have tried things like semen retention, or else you probably wouldn't be watching my content. And if you are watching it, then you should be trying it. What would your advice be for someone who's tried it and maybe failed? Maybe they have an issue with pornography. Maybe they have an issue with going on Instagram or social media and seeing loads of promiscuity and things like that, and that becomes difficult for them to manage. What would your advice be for someone who's struggling to even get past that hurdle?
Excellent question. A lot of men may not open up to watching certain things late night or feeling bored and giving into temptation, but it's very abundant, you can say, in our external reality. When you're on Instagram, there's a lot of what they call thirst trap. There's a lot of, people making content, but they're making your attention kind of, what's the word? They're gravitating things towards themselves by starting off sexually, by showing a little bit of skin. But the moment you find yourself is the moment you allow yourself to feel what you got to feel, but not get triggered. Now, if you're seeing something like a woman show some skin, and then you allow it to, dictate the rest of your thoughts that night, that's you getting triggered and that's you surrendering. Neither one of those two things are bad, but it's allowing yourself to realize why. So in my past, I've watched porn, but after year, I realized, wow, as a man, I'm always feeling the same things. I'm always allowing myself to succumb to the pressure of being in the feminine, you can say, aura or the feminine presence. As years have passed now, and I haven't watched anything like that, or I haven't allowed myself to give in to any woman like that, I find that I'm very comfortable. I can breathe. I can talk freely and confidently around women. It wasn't my intention, but it's what's come along. the experience. Now, a lot of men, they struggle, they have difficulty with talking to women. They feel that there's got to be either this sexual interaction or platonic. There's got to be this
No in
or that.
between.
There's no in between.
Yeah.
But a lot of the times, I feel that because there is this over masculinity in this external reality, a lot of women don't feel comfortable. They can't really be in their feminine. Therefore, if a woman is comfortable around you, just talk to her, you know, like breathe before you talk. If you have any thoughts, remember they're not yours, and talk, communicate. Even if you're feeling a certain way about her, you don't have to tell her, but just allow her to listen to you same way that you listen to her. And there's more to life than sex. I'll be real. Like, sex is something that's so beautiful, very intimate, very. But if sex was a meal, you know, and you could really save that meal for the right time, then you can enjoy that meal. If you're having that meal, same meal over and over again, you're gonna be desensitized. You're not gonna really be able to appreciate that meal. And it also taps into non-physical hygiene, because we talk about hygiene, germ theory. You know, we use all these products and chemicals, but for me, it's more about non-physical hygiene. It's more about when you look into someone's eye, when you exchange saliva with them, when you're even in their space, you're exchanging your energy. Now, when you take it onto a sexual level, romantic level, there's even more exchanges. And it's important to also be graceful with yourself, to not judge yourself too much, because judgment is powerful. It can help. And just allow yourself to experience life. Whatever has happened in the last couple of days can't define you. Same as what may happen in the next couple of days. It's about being present and allowing yourself to enjoy the experience. Definitely.
Absolutely. And on that point about non-physical hygiene, like managing your energy, why do you think there's such a epidemic of promiscuity going on in society today? Because it seems like it's everywhere you look at the minute.
Definitely. That's I feel like the real epidemic. This, in a way, tendency to look for a solution externally. Now, I feel that the person who is lost is the person who looks for the solution externally, not remembering that it always comes internally. A lot of us have certain problems or issues or reasons to escape, and we use each other, to be honest. We sometimes vent. We sometimes don't listen to the other person wanting to vent to their problems. But mainly when it comes to going and feeling something romantically with someone, I feel that there's that release of energy. There's the tension and there's the release. And a lot of men may experience that they're able to be romantic with a girl, but only temporarily. They're able to go and, you know, say what they have to say, to go and experience that release, to go and, what as a man would say, add another notch to his belt. And that will allow the man to not think about his problems.
Yeah.
That will allow a man to forget about the previous girl. But if you're going to a restaurant, a different restaurant rather, 5 times, 6 times a day, like if you're having that 5 or 6 interactions sexually with a woman every day, you're not really going to be able to sit with yourself and allow yourself to remember what you even had as the first meal, who the first girl was. So the promiscuity, I feel like, is powerful going within yourself, asking yourself, why am I learning these things? How am I learning these things? Am I learning anything? But the external promiscuity, I feel, creates that void. It creates some sort of separation between you and yourself, really and truly.
So yeah, I absolutely agree with what you were saying about promiscuity, and sometimes it's people using each other to get over another situation. We feel like if we get another body, then we don't have to worry about the misses that we had before, because now, okay, I've moved on. That's how we acknowledge moving on.
Yeah.
A lot of guys will say that they haven't moved on until they've moved with someone, which is mad when you think about it.
Yeah.
But to that point, do you think that there can be a healthy balance of sexuality? So you're completely celibate, and then you got people like me who I go through periods where I'm celibate and then periods when I'm not, and then you've got people who maybe they just abstain from pornography, but they do have sex with a regular partner. Do you think that there's like a healthy medium that someone could come to?
Okay. Definitely. I feel that when you're graceful with yourself, you allow yourself to forgive yourself. And amongst your journey, there's going to be many obstacles. The way that you respond to the obstacles are the way that you may end up moving forward. So as you referred to different lifestyles, different levels of, you know, celibacy, you could say Some people just abstain from pornography. Some people abstain from, external sexual interactions. Some people abstain completely. But I feel like it's a gradual journey, and I don't feel like everyone has the same destination. Same way, not everyone has the same journey. Um, when it comes to seeing if there's a healthy balance, I feel that it depends on your goal, it depends on your intention. For me, I've always observed that a lot of men act the same and they get the same result. Therefore, because I didn't want the same result, I didn't want to move the same. I didn't want to be overly sexualized. Throughout my adolescence, I honestly didn't practice that common promiscuity, and I feel very pure, I feel very calm, but I do feel that there is some life experience that I still have yet to go through. Now, on the other side of the coin, there's a lot of men who have had that promiscuity, and they may feel like they have a lot of cleansing to do, or the non-physical hygiene is not there. But at least you could say once they feel like they can settle down with someone, they won't have that thought in their mind. They won't have that ponder where they're saying to themselves, I wonder what it would be like to be with this person. Now, you cannot guarantee that going through different girls and then finally settling for one is going to guarantee that you're not going to ponder. But I feel like it's also about how much inner peace you have. And for me, even just being with one girl, around her, allow myself to be vulnerable with her, that's much for me. So I'm a bit much for me. So for some men, they may feel that because they're used to that, it's not nothing new, or it's not intense. So I really feel like it depends. It depends on the person. It's also important to enjoy life. I'll be real. It's amazing to fast, to cleanse, to be celibate, to be happy. But I feel like it's also important to live this life. Remember, we are a spirit, a soul, you could say, having a human experience, not the other way around. So there are many vessels, there are many bodies, and you're always infinite, you're always this light, you're always a soul. But this body is temporary, so whilst you're in this body, enjoy life. Not to the fullest, but enjoy life. Have this experience with the least amount of suffering, and at least have some sort of discipline in any way.
I love it. And one thing you mentioned there is we're experiencing life. We're souls having a human experience. There's masculine and there's feminine. I notice whenever I'm on a celibacy period, the way I perceive the feminine is different.
Yeah.
You get what I mean?
Yeah.
It's something that, unless you've done it, you won't even clock it.
Definitely.
And I want you to talk to that. How do you perceive the feminine? How do you perceive interactions with women? Because to the point you made earlier, a lot of us as men, we think if it's not flirtatious, if it's not sexual, then they're just friend zoning me, or I'm friend zoning them, one of the two. So how do you perceive interactions with the feminine?
Excellent question. I see the opportunity to learn about my feminine side when I'm around women. I'm learning about myself, but I learn about other people. When I'm around women, I feel that I'm able to talk about my emotions. Also, I'm able to feel my emotions. It's not that I have deep conversations with every female that I come across, but different thoughts come. Just like when you're around men, different thoughts will come. Now, I do aim to treat both men and women similarly because we are all connected to each other, you know. But the main difference over the years is that when I look at a woman, I don't have this urge or necessity to want to gain from them. And nowadays, I feel calm, I feel relaxed, and they've even shared that they feel that way around me. Now, when it comes to the whole friend zone and being all in or all out, I feel that that's why a lot of men experience jealousy, because I've had many occurrences when couples come to where I work to buy products, and because the woman will laugh at a joke I made, or because the woman and I will, just have a normal conversation, the man, I feel his energy lower. And I feel that because he has this mindset where if a man's around a woman, they got to be together. If they're not, they're only friends. They don't see the power in keeping things platonic. When you're constantly, exerting your energy and exhausting yourself sexually, you got to realize that there's power in silence. There's power in just sitting next to a woman, not wanting to, not having to touch her, and not even allowing her to always touch you. Boundaries are important. And the more you're able to exist around men and women, the more you're going to learn about yourself. When it comes to women, there's so much you can learn. Remember, a woman is the only way in and out of this universe. So it's important to respect women and to not expect anything from them.
It's a great answer. That's definitely getting snippet to go on Instagram. Probably enough about like sexual energy and all that type of stuff. I think people will be interested to understand more about the alkaline lifestyle because you mentioned to me you're on a fasting period at the moment. Speak to that and explain what you're doing and how it's affecting you.
Excellent, thank you. So it's been over 40 days, about 49, 50 days that I've just consumed fruits. For the past 9, 10 days, I've only consumed liquids, and it has been a roller coaster of emotions, but I've allowed myself to honor the experience. A lot of people learn about this alkaline lifestyle. Remember, it's a lifestyle, like you said. It's not a diet. A diet is something that you try, you pick up, and you let go of. So when you're making lifestyle changes, you start to realize other aspects of your life that don't resonate as highly. Remember, your gut, your stomach is also a brain. When you're a baby, you have your heart, your mind, your brain, what we call our brain, and your stomach all in one place. So even though they separate as you mature, they're all still connected. So what you eat is gonna also change the way you think, the way you say things. And even when you're thinking sexually, it also changes that too. Because when you're consuming something, you take on the energy of it. And as people say, you are what you eat. So if you observe animals, a lot of times when they are experiencing promiscuity, you could say they're very aggressive at times, very forceful. And you can see that reflection in a lot of men. A lot of men are forceful and they want to take this whole masculine role. But you got to realize that when you eat plants, when you eat things that are mainly natural, you don't just become more feminine. You see the emotion in things. You see the energy in things, and you realize that there is value in being aggressive and being not forceful, but dominant. But then there's also power in allowing other people to take on that dominance, not to be, what's the word, submissive. Not like that's a bad thing, but to see both the balance in being submissive and being dominant. Remember, same as masculine and feminine, you gotta learn how to dominate and how to be submissive. Now, as a man, to think, oh, I'm going to submit to a woman, it sounds mad. But when you're about to externally ejaculate, you submit to her because that's something that she wants. Now, when it comes to semen retention and celibacy, I find that it becomes even more simple once you change what you eat. Me, I don't stick to the alkaline guideline that you hear about, Dr. Sebi referred to, because I like to find my own journey. But as I have learned amongst the guideline, I find that there's certain foods that a lot of women eat. And honestly, for me, it's allowed me to focus my attraction on the woman that, really want to change, not be the same as every other woman. I see the way that she conversates with me, the way that she doesn't prioritize her sexual organs within our interactions. I enjoy that. I'm attracted to that. And there isn't any, well, many women that I found that doesn't focus on this kind of energy exchange, wanted to gain something from me. So when I'm around women, for me, I easily get turned off. I don't focus on the fact that I'm not attracted to her because I don't focus on whether or not we're going to have a sexual exchange. But the matter of the fact is that there's a lot of things that you start to see in your external reality that a lot of us are doing, not wrong or right, but repeatedly. And just because something is done over and over again through generations doesn't mean it's right or it's the only way. A lot of foods are passed on generationally, traditionally, but as we see now, a lot of foods have consequences. Same way that eating less meals a day, eating foods that are older generations will also have consequences. Your reward or your punishment can be your higher or your lower self.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a few things. There's the way that the alkaline diet impacts your mind. There's the way it impacts your body. There's the way it impacts other people that you've met and interacted with. So I guess the question from me is, what noticeable changes have you had experiencing the alkaline diet from your body, from your mind? How's it changed you as an individual?
Excellent. Thank you very much. The main thing that I've seen change is the way that people perceive me. I've noticed that a lot of people start to say to me, wow, you're glowing, you're shining, you have this different aura to you, you seem electric. And that's the external perspective. I don't focus on that. You can't control that, but you can, be thankful for that. And your external, your output, sometimes is a reflection of your input, of your internal. Now, in terms of my mind, it's allowed me to speak clearly. It's allowed me to think clearly. Not all the time, but if it comes to a moment where I want to meditate, I'm able to silence my mind. I'm able to also focus on faraway sounds or faraway sense. I'm allowed or allowing myself to go through all the senses in a mindful, in a conscious way. Now, when it comes to my physical body, I find that the energy has changed. Now, we call our bodies vessels, right? And a vessel is a vehicle. Therefore, if you were to compare yourself to a car and you were to take yourself to a restaurant or a car to a gas station, if you're not able to move after you eat and you just want to chill and you're very lethargic and lazy, would it make sense for a car to not move, to not start after going to the gas station? Would you not describe that as something that's limiting or kind of holding the car back? You really want your car to move after you take it to the gas station. That's why you're putting gas in the car. So that's what I learned, that when I eat less foods, when I eat, foods that are more natural in origin, that makes me feel like the car that's just got the best fuel, that allows me to feel, instead of an old car, like a new car, like a car that may be electric, like a car that may need less but goes further. And the important thing is that food isn't just physical. Food is non-physical as well. What includes in foods, what is inside of food, is the energy that you get from it. Therefore, if a lot of these foods that we're consuming didn't even exist 50, 100 years ago, then maybe try focusing on foods that have existed for a while. Also, remember that everything that's grown in soil isn't natural. Everything that has a seed isn't natural. A lot of our influence is right in front of us. A lot of fruits with the name fruit in them, like jackfruit, star fruit, dragon fruit. A lot of these things don't have a natural origin. Not meaning that it's bad, but it's showing how much influence and affluence we've had on these plants. And no matter what, the food you eat is gonna add to your lifestyle, it's gonna add to your existence, or it's gonna take away from your lifestyle, it's gonna take away from your existence.
So the final thing I'd want to know from you on this is, if someone's thinking about starting an alkaline lifestyle from scratch, how would you recommend that they ease their way into it? Because it's a big life change. It's going to change your mind. It's going to change your reality. It's going to change how people view you. Society's got things to say about it. Scientists got things to say about it. There's a lot of hurdles to overcome. So how would you advise someone to get started?
Excellent question. So the main thing that I'd recommend is to ask yourself what your intention is. One thing that can help you along the way is to start a food journal or a food diary. The reason why is because a lot of us seek solutions externally. A lot of us only derive our research externally. But when you start to ask yourself these questions, how do I feel? Is that something that I should eat long term? Then you begin to find yourself. A lot of this changing what you consume is about how you feel. And I can tell you right now that all of this list of food is bad for you, all of this list of food is good for you. But if you're to take my word for gospel, then you're depending on my, my external, my output, my voice to tell you what's good and what's bad. But really and truly, we all have different bodies. We're all from different parts of this realm. So to ask yourself why you want to change is important. Some people, they want to change because they want to look better. Some people, they change because they want to feel better. So I'd say take steps. A lot of people, they eat meat every day. So if you're to eat meat every day, to cut it off is going to be a bit abrupt. Therefore, if you eat meat maybe 6 days instead of 7, see how you feel on the 7th day. Maybe just stick to fruits. Or if you find that you eat very early in the day, start your day with fruit. Remember, sudden changes kind of create a disturbance in your field, in your energy. So small steps go a long way.
Beautiful. Thank you very much, my man, for coming through.
Thank you, bro.
I feel like we need a part 2 on this one because there's so much to
Definitely,
dissect, bro.
definitely.
But it's been a pleasure having you. Great points. I know people are going to love this. So
Thanks.
thank you again.